Hey everybody, welcome to Up the Ladder. As always, I'm Nate Stein here on behalf of the Sport Professional Knowledge Network. Joining me today is a very good friend of mine, someone I'm really glad has the time to get on the show today, Kayla Beatty, who is the live production director for Ole Miss Athletics. She's been working in the production room for 8 years with Ole Miss. She's done everything from working on cameras, working on replay, directing the entire operation that happens behind the scenes. So we're going to learn a lot today. In addition to her work in the production room, Kayla also does her own freelance design services and creative services through Kayla Beatty Creative Services. So got to throw that plug in as well. Kayla, thanks for being on Up the Ladder.
Thank you. Thank you. What a nice introduction.
I try. Hey, I want to dive right in. Let's take it back to the beginning. When did you know that you wanted to work in production, whether it's live events, whether it's the graphic design work that you do, or anything through your creative services?
Um, I think the turning point was when sports didn't work out in early high school. I tried out for the soccer team. I'd been playing soccer my whole life and I didn't make it even past like the first round of that tryout, and I was like, well, that was like my only thing I had going for me, so I got to pick something else. And my parents had the bright idea of, having me go take pictures of the soccer events because I always kind of liked taking pictures as a child. And they were like, all right, well, we'll get you a camera and you can just go hang out with all the same friends that you've always played soccer with, but, take pictures instead. And I was like, yeah, that seems like a great idea. And that's really like the first time that, I was behind a camera at an event and I was like, yeah, I could do this forever. I could make a career out of this.
So what, besides getting into it, what got you good at it? Because I know how good you are at it. We've worked together in the past. I had you do some photo editing for me. So what clicked and kind of made you see like, hey, not only do I enjoy doing this, but this is something that's realistic for me to continue doing longer term?
Yeah, it was practice. It was I was like 14 years old hauling around like full professional camera equipment, no idea how to use it. And I learned one thing at a time. Like I originally was shooting on auto and, full auto shooting 1,000 pictures of a football game and only walking away with like 5 and putting them on Facebook for people to like see. And then I slowly learned all the settings on the camera, how to control how much light comes in and out, how to frame a subject, how to shoot effectively. So I'm only going through like 200 pictures to edit after a game, and coming away with like 200 pictures after a game instead of having so many throwaways. And I think I had a bit of a head start because I pretty much decided that's what I wanted to do when I was 14 years old. But I was not good at the beginning at all. But I was good by the time it was important to be good at it, which was, around 18, 19 years old.
Sure. So you studied what in school, and then I'm assuming something on the creative side. So for our listeners.
For actually I started in high school. I knew that I wanted to go to journalism school. I decided my sophomore year of high school, and so I took a fully journalism based senior year of high school. So I had one math class which was horrible and I hated it, and it was first thing in the morning. And then it was a 4 block day. So I had math in the morning, and then I had broadcast journalism, and then I had yearbook, and then I had newspaper at the end of the day. So I built out my senior year of high school in preparation for journalism school, which I went to at Ole Miss and got a bachelor's degree. So that's what I did.
And then beyond just the undergraduate stuff, obviously you've talked about being self-taught a decent bit. Did you do anything post-grad, or just more learning on the job, more figuring as you go and kind of honing in your skills in all the different areas that you get to work?
I didn't do any more formal education. So
Hmm.
if there was anything that I would go do, I would learn how to code or like build things from scratch on the computer side. But
Huh.
that's, for a different day. It's something that can really elevate your work as well. But yeah, I think that on the job training is the most effective way to learn anything in this industry because you can memorize all the things that you want, but it's not the same as like holding something in your hand or making something in real time, and you have to be on it. So the only way is practice.
Absolutely. I'm absolutely the same way. I subscribe to that method of learning as well. But I do want to go back to what you said about if you were to go do more formal education or something similar, it would be in coding. Where's the connection there? Because I
Right.
feel like a
So
lot of people might not know that the coding and that kind of technological side would play into broadcasting live events, for example?
The back end of what we do in terms of the production studio, like putting on a live event, we have someone who is our physical engineer and computer engineer that does all of our back end things. So whenever you go into these more complicated programs, by Blackmagic, or who else do we use? Ross Expression, stuff
Mhm.
like that, you're gonna have to know the basics of computer programming,
Huh.
because you're building it from scratch. You're building how the graphic plays on the Jumbotron by scratch. You know, it goes back to basically knowing how to code the different motions all the way into the back end of the computer. It's not something, well, it is in a way something that you can drag and drop now. But if I'm going to drag and drop something as it stands, my engineer has to build it for me first.
Interesting. There you go. Building connections that people maybe didn't know exist. So you've talked about a bit about just the different roles that you've filled in, just kind of learning on the job. Where did you start? Kind of walk us through the progression to get to the point of being a live events director.
Oh man, it was literally one thing after another. Yeah, so I did photography, like I said, when I was in high school, and I didn't want to stop, but I did not have any connections at Ole Miss. I was a freshman. I didn't know a single person in athletics. And so what I did was I brought my camera equipment with me. And I was waiting for the first sporting event to happen, which happened to be a soccer game. And I didn't know how to get there. I didn't have my own car, and it was on campus. So I was like, you know what? Yeah, I'll walk. Perfect. There was also construction on campus, and I got lost. And the soccer field, I don't know if you or anyone who watches this has been to Ole Miss, but the soccer field is very out of the way. Like, it's on campus, you know?
Yeah.
It's like at least 2 miles from where I was. And I was like camera over the shoulder on a monopod, like roughing it. I get there in the third quarter and I'm like, well, I made it. So I get in the stands, a couple security guards are like, hey, don't stand in front of people. And I was just like, I'm just
Uh,
gonna shoot pictures and put them on Twitter and see if anything gets traction at all.
yeah.
Gotta start somewhere. And yeah, so then I went down on the field and I just kind of like snuck on the field, not very high security at that point in time. And I stood in the corner and I shot some shots and I put them on Twitter and they got like 3 retweets. And I did that a few more times before giving up on soccer. And then the next year, I was able to secure my job with Ole Miss Sports Productions. They put out a blast and I responded, got an interview, and got a job as a camera operator, which was not still photography, it was video board productions.
Wow. So from video board productions, that's obviously your foot in the door. You're actually in the production room. What kind of steps did you have to take? Obviously, learning all the different pieces before you can direct. But what was that like, having so much new information, having so many different roles and positions besides what you had been doing since you were 14, which is photography?
Right. So it was a transition because I had never done, first of all, I'd never done anything live. Everything I did, I had time to edit and perfect, and before the world saw it, I had time to, put my edits on and make sure everything looked fantastic.
Right.
But this really was one of those things where you had to get it right the first time because it's live.
Yeah.
And I had to learn brand new equipment. I luckily had a really good grasp on things like framing and lighting and understand how cameras work in general. So that was not a super hard transition like I see, for some of our student workers now who have never touched a camera.
Mm.
But they're heavy. I don't know if you've ever held a TV camera, a shoulder
Yeah.
mount camera. Those things are so heavy.
They
I mean,
certainly aren't light.
they're at least like 15-20 pounds, and I was used to carrying like a 2 pound like Canon
Mm.
little camera. And it's hot outside, and that was a big adjustment. But it was one of those things where you just kind of have to learn how a show works in and out. So we have maybe like 10 sports that we do every year at Ole Miss. You have to learn the show in and out, and we start as a camera person, a camera operator. You see everything that's going on and you hear in your headset how the direction is going. Like, where your camera needs to be, you know what's going to happen next. You need to learn pretty quickly to know how to tell what's going to happen next. And the good thing about starting with soccer is that it's only crowd and fan interaction. So you're
Mm.
not shooting a live game, at least for the in venue production. But yeah, so you learn camera and then you work your way up. The next thing that we progress, our student workers to learn is replay.
Mhm.
And it's really hard. It's really hard
Yeah.
to do a replay. It's in real time. You have to learn a whole new machine. You have to roll it back and play it and listen to your director and make sure that you have the right camera angle. You get all the camera angles. So that's one of those things you really have to be on your toes for. And it's also something that we use to weed people out. Like
Mm.
if you can't do replay, you can't have the job. That was my natural progression as well. I learned replay next and I hated it. And honestly, I'm very good at it now. And it's only because I know the shows in and out because I've been doing them for so long. But yeah, it's a hard one to learn. The next
Yeah.
natural progression is to do graphics, which is anytime you see, a score pop up on the screen or, player stats coming up on the side of the screen, you build and put those out in a machine, a graphics machine.
Yeah.
So that's something that's also pretty high stress. You have to change and edit and
Mm.
vet in real time stats and scores and anything like that. And then beyond that, the next step is to be a technical director or a director, depending on the sport.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously a lot that goes into it. And as you were explaining everything, I kind of realized, wow, there might be a handful of people out there who might not realize all of the different roles. So I want to ask you, how many people are working on a production just for Ole Miss? We'll just give that as an example, since it's something you have your hands in and have had your hands in for a long time. How many people are in the production room? How many people are working on the events, even for just in venue?
Right. So I would say we're going to use basketball as an example. Everyone's in the same room and I can think about it easier. But yeah, so we have the producer. Now the producer writes the script for the show
Okay.
and they do all the beforehand work. They make sure all the people are in the right places and then they read down their own script to the director. Now,
Hmm.
the director calls which camera shots are being put onto either the TV broadcast or the video board, depending on what kind of production it is. Their job is literally to sit there, look at all of the cameras, and say into their microphone, take camera one, ready to take camera two.
Yeah.
The next one down is the technical director, and the technical director pushes the actual button, so they're taking camera one and
Mhm.
taking camera two. Um, there's only one of those people because it will be very confusing if there were more.
Right.
The next guy is the audio engineer, and they control lights, sound, microphones, sound effects, buzzers, anything like that. They control the volume and what's available to use and play any music that we need to be playing. They kind of keep to themselves. They know what's going on. I would say
Yeah.
that you kind of have to have either done enough as a junior audio engineer, like in the background, or you would have had to like direct a show before because it's a really important job that you really need to be on your toes for. And then you have graphics and replay. So graphics are just anything that you see on the screen that isn't a live video. It could be pre-recorded videos, actual graphics, slides. Like there's a replay slide. If you've ever seen it, it goes whoosh, and then the
Mhm.
replay comes up. That's
Yep.
done by graphics. Then there's the replay operator. We only have one replay operator, but there can be multiple.
Okay.
There's their job is to do the live replays, but also to clip off highlights and send them to the social media team, build like an after show melt. So any highlights that you ever see on YouTube or anything like that, they're doing in real time during the game. So yeah, that one's a really intense one. And then for basketball, we have multiple cameras. We have two shoulder mount cameras, which are the people who walk around and will do mostly fan shots, but they can also sit under the goal for like free throws and things like that.
Mhm.
And then we have three sticks cameras, and sticks just means on a tripod.
Sure.
Um, two at the top, one that shows the whole court at once, and one that shows individual players. Um, and they know what their job is. The director tells them beforehand. And then we have a slash camera, which sits high on the corner of the court and gets all of those really like fancy shots that you would see during a
Oh,
production. We also sometimes send people out with a GoPro, which is really
okay.
fun.
Yeah.
And that's like a fan cam that you can hold.
Oh,
You can give to
awesome.
fans and do the GoPro. I think that covers everybody.
Yeah. So I was trying to count as you went along. At my count, that's 17 if you count one or two people with the GoPros. And obviously, you can up that or lower that number based on what kind of production you want to put on. You can always add more cameras. And I'll say, even as someone who's worked in live broadcast for a while, I just learned a ton from what you were just talking about. So I'm pumped for our listeners that hopefully they will too. Now, I do want to take a little bit of a 30,000 foot view, go up, look at some big picture. What would you say is maybe the most interesting thing that happens in your job or that you know through your job that the normal man on the street maybe doesn't?
We all hate Kisscam.
That is beautiful. I love that.
Who's ever worked in production hates Kisscam. The fans love Kisscam.
Yeah.
And jewelry stores that sell engagement rings, for some reason, love to sponsor Kisscams. That was not shade. Please don't pull your sponsorship. Everyone hates them. They're so awkward. And it gets worse and worse with time, it feels like. Like, you
Wow.
don't know who is a couple. You don't know if these people are co-parenting. You don't know if they are brother and sister. You are on a tripod
Yeah.
100 feet away, and you're just fingers crossed these people will kiss and it won't be terrible. We've started telling our student workers, don't even go to the student section because
Oh
you
gosh.
get so like funky over there and it's just so risky. Or like
Yeah.
people over the age of like 40 and mothers with babies are going on the
Oh,
kiss
that's
cam.
smart. That's smart. You
So
gotta get creative with it.
yeah, so
Huh.
I loved the couple of COVID years where we weren't allowed to do kiss cams. So, and
For obvious
truly, if
reasons.
you ask a single person in production, like you get your script at the beginning and you go over it with your team and you get to kiss cam and it's like an audible, like, oh.
The
So,
more you know, kiss cams out. Nobody likes them. We're
so
done.
if you want to help your local production team and want to be on the kiss cam, pull a cameraman over to you and be like, when it's kiss cam time, come
I will
back.
actually do. Yeah, there you go. All right. We're just about out of time, but there is one thing that we at SPKN do like to do at the end of every single one of our interviews, and that is to get a coach story. Could be from any point in your life, can be positive or negative. We won't shy away from anything negative, but just some sort of impactful story that either involves a coach, either when you were an athlete or maybe you're working a production or whenever.
Yeah, I've got one for you.
What do you got?
My favorite boss ever, his name is Hank. He was with us for a couple years at Ole Miss. Went on to a better job for himself at least. We wish we still had him, but I was so shy. And I don't mean like with my friends, but in a work environment, I was just super like I had lived behind a camera my entire life to this point. I never had to talk to anyone. I got like automatic respect just holding a camera. I didn't need to, say excuse me or
True.
anything like that. And he didn't like that. He was like, you need to go talk to people and be, bubbly and fun. And I was like, you have other people on your staff that are going to be very good at that. I'm not that person. And it was an entire soccer season. He wanted me to go up with a microphone in front of my camera, my shoulder mount camera, and interview the soccer coach. And I was like, no. Did you ask him if I can interview him? Like that, I'm not gonna go up to a random coach and like ask him. And he was like, go every single day. Like it would be like Thursday and Saturday games. And he'd be like, did you need to go up to coach, Matt and just go talk to him? And I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. And I would come back like shaking up to the control room and he'd be like, I didn't see you go interview him. And I was like, he was gone. I didn't even get a chance. He's so fast. He was not fast. And yeah, so eventually I did it. And he pretty much promoted me immediately. I was done doing shoulder mount camera after that. He was like, you did good enough. Let's go. On to bigger,
That's
better
all it
things.
took. That's all
So
it took. Make
it
the
was
effort, and all of a sudden you
painful.
don't have to do it anymore.
It was horrible. And I suffered through like the stress of that for like 10 games in a row because I knew he was going to ask me to do it after. But yeah, I'm not scared to get in the mix anymore or talk to whoever I need to talk to. So that's good. That was a great life lesson.
Beautiful. We love a coach story that has growth and a little bit of humor in it. So Kayla, I cannot thank you enough for joining us on Up the Ladder. So excited to have you with us on SPKN, and hopefully we can get something going in person for another episode.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.